Hey friends, I've been living and working in Lisbon for just over about a month now as part of my Digital Nomad adventure. And in this video, I want to share with you all of the different things that people didn't tell me about, kind of the hidden gems and secrets about what it's actually like to live in Lisbon long term. We're going to go through all of those in this video. If you like this kind of content, hit the subscribe button for more videos like this. Otherwise, let's get started. First thing is that the food and drink is much cheaper in Lisbon and actually just in Portugal in general compared to if you would say go to the supermarket and cook and buy your own food there. So like I've sometimes been ordering takeaways because it's one, really convenient if I've been working late, and two, just because it's been like buy one get one free, and so like for 10 euros myself and my friend Joe could get like a pizza each and get it delivered to the co-working space that we've been working. So yeah, much cheaper than the UK for sure. So the second thing is that scooters in Lisbon are basically everywhere. There's literally like Bolt, Lime, Link, Bird, every type of scooter brand you can possibly imagine, and I've been using them like most days to travel around the city. However, the one thing I would say is be very careful if you're using them in the wet, if you don't want to risk your life, because I drove them in the wet and tried to brake and basically did like a 90-degree spin and almost completely went over the top of the scooter. So don't do that. So the next thing is that the level of English spoken in Lisbon and in Portugal is just absolutely incredible. It makes it a bit lazy for me as a Brit, but I've never had any kind of issues communicating with people or understanding what they mean, whether it's like a taxi driver or a tour guide or someone in a restaurant. Super easy. One thing that people didn't really tell me about, but I know is a really highly rated experience, and definitely do this, take a day from Lisbon and go and explore Sintra and the kind of like surrounding area. Like now that I've done this, I would say that this is one of the best things that you can do. Go and like get an Airbnb experience, do like a Jeep tour. Check out my video in the pop-up banner here where I literally talked about all the different activities that I did, and in that video it has more information and actual footage of me doing the Jeep safari. 100% highly recommend doing that. It was so insightful and really valuable and beautiful place. Something that no one else told me about, but actually doing the sunset tour with Jack and seeing the bridge in person, is the actual bridge that goes across the Tagus River is exactly like the bridge in San Francisco, the Golden Gate Bridge, and actually the people who were behind that bridge and another bridge in San Francisco were inspired by and actually created the bridge in Lisbon. And the main reason that they created this one exactly kind of similar design is that a few hundred years ago there was actually an earthquake in Portugal, like a major earthquake. So that bridge is designed to be earthquake proof, or at least, you know, somewhat earthquake resistant. So there's that. Something else I discovered though, which is definitely a little bit inconvenient in today's kind of like modern world, it kind of feels a little bit like some parts of Lisbon or some parts of Portugal are like 5 years behind the rest of Europe in terms of technology, is that some of the places that I went to still needed cash. Like they just wouldn't take card flat out. So you still had to have some euros with you when you go to some places. So that's one thing to consider. London, you don't need cash anywhere at all. Pretty much, you can just take card and be completely fine just having Apple Pay or your debit card with you. Not so in Lisbon. One other thing that I've noticed, and maybe this is just based on the location where my apartment is, but there's definitely just like a lot of ambient noise in Lisbon. So like there's trams going past, there's like cars, there's scooters, there's motorbikes. It's just like restaurants like open till like 1, 2 a.m. at night. So if you're someone who is like a light sleeper and you're wanting to come and stay in Lisbon or Portugal for a long period of time, probably bring earplugs, I would say. Like I'm actually a really heavy sleeper and it doesn't take much for me to be able to get to sleep easily. But if you are someone who is like a light sleeper, then probably I would bring some earplugs just to be sure. Something else I noticed about Lisbon in particular is the street art and the architecture of the buildings, and just the art that's been like spray painted or painted on the building is like really exquisite. Like some of the streets you just walk around, it just takes you by chance. It's almost like Banksy, but on just every like random wall that you go past, there's like some kind of street art around the next corner. Like really high quality stuff. not like the kind of back alley stuff you might get on like a tube train in London. And one of the things people don't really tell you about much is that the hills are big. There's like 7 or 8 hills, and they get super slippery if you're walking in the wet. So I've got these kind of like flat shoes, like flat summer shoes, that were like perfect in Malta and perfect if you go to the beach, but I almost completely stacked it, just literally walking down, not even like that steep a hill, just walking down like a cobblestone hill, like a cobblestone street in these shoes, because yeah, it gets like slippery as hell. It's like an ice rink. Something else that seemed quite backwards, and I only have one data point on this because we've only been out one time to a club called Lux in Lisbon, and this may only be specific to Lisbon, but I noticed that it seems like very backwards and quite tricky to actually get into a nightclub. Like, we literally were queuing up the whole evening for like 2 hours just to be able to get in, and if you were in a group that had like 2 guys and 1 female, you're probably not going to get in. You need to have like more girls than guys in your group. If there was a group of like more than 3 people, you're not getting in. And if you didn't look right and the security people just wanted to turn you away because they just didn't like the look of you, then they would either just turn away random people in the queue, and also the fact that if they didn't like you, they'd either charge you 300 euros or just turn you away. Kind of felt like a bit xenophobic. And like, the club wasn't even that busy, don't get me wrong, we had a great night and it was a really good club. And in the morning, like, me and Joe just went like scooting off at like 6-7 a.m. in the morning, just like around Lisbon, which was super fun and definitely good to do when you've had a few drinks. But like, yeah, it was just kind of a bit xenophobic and a bit weird, and it was just like whoever they liked the look of could get in and anyone else was like, no,
you can't go in here.
So that's definitely one weird thing I noticed. Finally, but by no means least, and this was something that I was hoping for, people kind of warned me about it, but I, didn't necessarily believe them. But the Pastel de Nadas are absolutely incredible. And one thing people didn't tell me is that apparently only like 4 or 5 people know the actual authentic, proper, like legit recipe to make the Pastel de Nadas. So I didn't know that, no one told me that. But basically, if you go to any bakery in Lisbon, or pretty much any bakery in Portugal, you will not get a bad pastel de nata. Like, you'd have to find a pretty bad bakery to get a bad pastel de nata. So hope you enjoyed this little roundup of things that I found out about and learned while staying in Lisbon for an extended period of time. If you found this video interesting and learnt 1 or 2 new things, check out this playlist here, because I'll be putting a load more Lisbon related content in this playlist here. Check out this video here, where I'll be putting a summary of some of the best activities that I did in and around Lisbon. Otherwise, thanks for watching, have an awesome day, see you in the next video.